This is Out Loud and Laughing. What's up, Chosen fam? Welcome back. We're so hyped for today's episode because today we're welcoming back a true member of the family. We're sitting down with David Morgenstern, the creative powerhouse behind Gaddies. If you haven't seen his dad swag yet, he's basically redefined what family values look like for queer parents in the 2020s. David is all about heart, intention, and building a community where we actually see ourselves represented. David, it's so good to have you back. How are you?
I'm great. Brian knows I love being a returning guest star, and so it's an honor to be here again.
Loves to be a third and loves to return.
We are honored. That is for sure. We are for sure. I
How
know
are
we
you
have a
doing?
lot to. Yeah, how are you doing? We have a lot to catch up on. How are you though?
We're good. We're
Good.
navigating cold, flu, everything that comes with daycare, and post-holiday, all the things. But we're in late February. We're on the other side. We are ready to champion summer. It's basically here.
It is true. I had so many of my children, and I include Adam, were sick during the holidays, and people were like, "Well, that sucked." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's better than having them sick while I have to go to work. I'd rather at least we had to be home because if not navigating schedules when, it's just shit." So I'm sorry you're feeling
And
like crap,
and
but
being sick when school was already closed feels like a win.
yeah,
Sure, like, oh,
exactly.
that's money that I'm burning that is not actually being used.
Yeah. And then they get sent home for like 48 hours.
Also, we're dealing with so I think the most important person in a parent's life is the babysitter. And
Mm,
if you live close to family, right, and blessed to have that, for us, we've had this amazing high school babysitter who is graduating high school and they're going to college very far away. And it's 7 months away, but I'm already mentally preparing myself for having to find a new one. And it's sad. So we've been trying to get it in while we have.
get
That's
it in.
real. That's real. Get
Mhm.
it. Get it in. Get it. 7 months. We're not size queens or anything, but
Ugh. All right, well, David, let's get into it and talk about all the things that you're up to. Update since we last spoke. Gaddies was still kind of finding its wings when we first spoke. You had just kind of launched the platform. For anyone who hasn't checked it out, heygaddies.com. Now we're seeing your gear everywhere, like even with shirts saying things like dad, daddy, and papa. And it's interesting because in the queer community, those words, especially daddy, as we will talk about, carry so many different layers of meaning depending on who you're talking to. So, was there a specific moment when you realized you wanted to kind of reclaim those titles for the nursery instead of just the nightclub?
Because dad's told me to, right? As you're building a brand, the consumer decides and you go in with insights and talking to all these dads, but once you're live in the marketplace like I have been for the last couple months, people are not shy about their opinions and they'll tell you exactly what they wanna wear, and being a small, nimble company, I can do that. I think one it's even interesting the word "gaddy," I wasn't sure, like, what other gays are gonna use it, and are people that are called daddy wanna be called gaddy in that way, and how do you navigate that? But I think just the pure points of daddy, but different kind, and you get lots of notes from people of, "I have to write daddy, the humankind," and in profiles on the apps or whatever it might look like, but being very honest about it, being very open, and being unapologetic.
that's awesome because, since the last time we spoke, I also remember, it's gone from this idea. You were launching a campaign at the time, and now it's like full blown movement. So, and you were also just talking about like how it's this consumer forward piece where people come to you, right? So, is there a specific story or a DM that you received from a gay dad that's made you realize that this brand was doing something much deeper than just selling t-shirts?
Totally. So, a moment that was really powerful was I got a DM from these 2 dads who were in the airport. They were wearing their Gaddies hats, and they said this gentleman who was a generation above them approached them, and they were like, "Ah, what's going on?" And he said, "Gaddies, does that mean gay daddies?" And they said, "Yes." And then he said, "Oh, I'm a gay dad too." He has a 35-year-old son, and talked about that process and what it was like. So those people would have been ships in the night without having something to symbol and something to wear out. So it's quite cool when you look at, what your intention was and start getting those stories back. Definitely, I think for me, also really exciting the first time I just saw someone wearing a Gaddy hat out in the wild. And I
That's
was like,
cool.
oh, that's me, you know?
Yeah.
So you get starting to get stories like that where community is building and we're finding one another, which for those of new, my original inspiration was being at the park and trying to figure out if they were gay dads or hipsters and being like, hey, what if we had a way to symbol to one another, a way to connect to one another in the physical world? And those are really, really special.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up with, because you mentioned, it being driven by a lot of the comments that you get and the interactions and the engagement that you have with your audience. How much has it differed? Like, can you give us an example of sort of some of the ideas that you started with and where it's ended up?
Sure. I went into this saying, "I'm not a rainbows brand. We're blacks and we're whites and we're leaning into something that's different." But what I'm learning and what I forgot was how much the rainbow does signal safety and people saying, "Hey, I want to wear this because it shows someone else who's walking down the street or shows someone else in the community who I am." So I've started to integrate that in different ways and in elevated ways. But that's one where it's like, "Hey, you have this thought, but what is the consumer saying? What does the community want?" And I'm here to make people feel happy and make them feel special. So that's definitely been a big change. You just sort of got to get over yourself and learn and listen. And I just hit year one of being in business, which was very exciting, and having the birthday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And now starting to turn and saying every business should be reevaluating themselves 6 months, 1 year in, and I'm in that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your evolution and I've enjoyed watching it. And I also think what's been interesting about your brand's evolution is obviously you're very much a gay dad brand, but you evolve that gay dads can mean more than just having a baby, whether it's plants and animals. But I also think you've done an interesting job of really tapping into we're not just dads, we also enjoy sex and body positivity. And I feel like you've done a really good job kind of finding the balance of retail and just social like fun. So he's talked a little bit about that balance.
Vivid, not vulgar.
There
That's the that is the that's my internal definition, internal guide of like, hey, who do I want to be? And trying to find the right balance. So I always want to leave the people having to fill in the blanks themselves and let them take it where their brain may, while also doing it, in a manner that sets it up.
But are you getting these DMs with these images? Are like and then people are saying, "Please post this on your Insta." I mean, it's amazing. It's really good.
Yeah, so we have a very fun close friends situation. So, on Insta at Hey Gaddies, send me a DM and we can add you. But there was a cool moment a couple months in where and I put this up on the close friends and I was like, I sold more products this week than I received dick pics. And that was a turning point and something that was not happening at the beginning. But people just send me everything and I you're constantly surprised by the internet.
From dick pics to pink shirts.
Mhm.
We've gotta talk about it. You're wearing it now. It's vibrant, it's bold. I have to ask, how do you, use the Gaddies apparel to start conversations that go beyond just fashion? You started to touch on it, but, about it being in the wild and all of these things. How
Yeah.
does it go beyond?
I think representation and celebration, those are the 2 words that I really focus on. What am I here to do? And in year 1.1 now, I'm able to say that. When I started, I was saying validation and celebration because there was this need to say, "We exist, we're here, we've always been here, we're always going to be here." And this first year was validating the community and validating the business idea, right? Of saying like, "Hey, I have this idea, is it gonna stick?" And what I've learned from people and the notes that I get back and these amazing, outreach that you get, not the dick pics, but the other outpour of just saying, I feel seen. I'm able to bring this part of my identity. I love that you're speaking to the fullness of who I am. Now make me a pink caught in a dad romance shirt. So we've done, caught in a dad romance, trademark came through. Those are the very exciting moments that happen as a business. And like I said, you got to listen and make it happen. So we're here.
And for anyone listening, it's available now. So go to the website. Some pink shirts. We love it. Uh, you own a fashion apparel brand. So you obviously need to live and breathe it. How has your
Sorry, that's just
style
like a wild statement to hear, and I know that we're just supposed to listen and
Yeah.
let you all say very nice things,
No.
but, like, that's fucking crazy. And to
Yeah, I mean,
everyone that I worked in financial services and supply chain, and so to folks out there saying like, "Hey, can I go do things?" You are more than your resume, and you are more talented than you could ever know.
You know, you couldn't have said it better. John and I just we released over 100 episodes of this podcast, and we wrote
So this is
that
the point where I say I was not listed in your top 10 favorites of the 100, and I
Well,
noticed that.
we
you're not
will
wrong.
our editing has gotten better since we had you on first. But what I
That's the
will
truth.
say is the one statement that you just said that really resonates with me is that people say, "Well, how'd you get to 100 episodes?" And it's like, "Well, we just did our first one." And then it dovetailed from there. And so many people just they don't take that first step. And if you don't take the first step, you're not gonna get to 100 episodes or launching your brand or any of those things. And so, you know, I feel like as human beings, especially in the gay world, we get in our own way sometimes, and it does shield greatness sometimes, you
And
know?
I was just gonna say shield greatness, right? Because like if anybody wants like would to double click on that and say, well, what is it in the way of? Well, it's in the way of that moment that happened at the airport with those two people who would have just been ships in the night, and that representation wouldn't have happened. That story wouldn't exist in our world. Like that energy wouldn't have been shared. So it's, it probably is wild to hear that you are, owning this fashion apparel business, but the truth of the facts and the truth of the matter are you're creating conversation, you're creating
Mhm.
togetherness, and you're creating belonging. So
And
kudos.
thank you. And part of it is seeing how people take it and make it their own, right? So even the language that I use around describing Gaddies, what is it? Who does it serve? A lot of that is listening and reading posts or reading the tags that people put up around the brand because that's the direct feedback from the community that you're trying to serve.
Which goes back to my original question about your own style, like your dad swag. Like, how has that changed since you started this journey? Are you in Gaddy's gear all the time? Do you find it to be just a part of your wardrobe, or is this your new wardrobe?
I'm a pretty intentional person and I like boundaries. So I have learned that I have very branded and not branded moments. And that is really important for me to say, I am more than this brand, right? Even myself, I struggle with that right now of, hey, I've built this company that's based on my identity. How do you not get totally wrapped up in solely defining yourself on daily sales or Instagram followers when it's something when you've, sort of poured your heart into it. So I have my clothes for when I need to go have a moment, and then I have my clothes for when I say, Rafi, I'm gonna not think about business. I love my husband is Raphael, and I love leaving my phone whenever I can at home, which annoys him to no extent because that means if the babysitter has to contact us or something, I'm like, I don't have a responsibility. So phone is at home, Gaddy's is at home, and I get to go just be David, which is can be really challenging to not lose yourself in something like this. And I know, you guys are figuring that out too.
I mean, it's so important for people listening to your story for the first time. You mentioned your husband, Rafi, which does not rhyme with coffee. Um,
Proceed.
and
Everyone is wrong.
Everyone is wrong.
And, you also have an amazing son, Simon, which you know, through adoption. So when you look at your, like, apparel brand, obviously it's personal, right? Like, it's more than just clothes to you, but do you see it as more of a uniform now for the new kind of modern family? Like, how do you when you look through the lens of your own family through the brand, how do you visualize your company?
Clothes are power, and clothes, that sort of expression of who you are to the world is meant to let you be who you wanna be in that moment, right? So, one day I wanna wear a really butch outfit, the next day I wanna be much more feminine, and this can be versatile pieces that people can wear up or wear down depending on who they are. Um, but then also have that constant, right? So I think like our Gaddy hat, which is among our top sellers, people wear that to everything because they just like the simplicity of it. They like the way it look. It's a little more downtown. It's a little more uptown. I know those are opposite things. New Yorkers don't come for me. Uh, and then very explicit of saying like, hey, so another one amazing DM that I got was from someone who said, I'm the only queer dad at my school. And I wear your stuff every time I go to school events because it lets me feel seen. It lets me feel connected in a way where I felt very lonely before.
Mm,
And that's fucking crazy to have
it's
someone like
amazing.
write to you to say that that's a thing, right? So in the really hard days and the struggle, and there are lots of them, you try to come back to that, and it's neat to be vocalizing that a little bit because I don't know that I share that with others or do the best job of sharing it with myself even because it's just go go go.
Yeah, it's, really important to stop and remember those vulnerable moments because I feel like those tender spots are, sort of where the feelings are, and we talk a
Yeah.
lot about, feelings on this show. We talk a lot about radical honesty, as a gay dad in the public eye, how do you balance the perfect family image on Instagram with the messy, beautiful truth of actually raising kids? Because that's a balance. That's work.
I don't. So speaking of boundaries, like I've had to put up boundaries of I don't want to share that much about my family, and it's probably to the detriment of the business, right? If you're a founder-led business, the reality is people wanna believe in you and they wanna know who you are, and I just haven't been able to get there is the very honest answer. I share some of it, and I think people that know me can see the pain in my face that is there. But I think I do a better job of it than I give myself credit for because people say I think among the coolest notes that you get are just these just feel like people on your page, and I feel connected to them, and I feel like I could be there, and I'm like, "Great, you should be. Let's talk about it." But some of that, elimination of the facade and the messiness.
Do you find that, like, through the work that you've done through Hey Gaddies, that you yourself have become a better parent? Or has it changed your parenting, I guess, like, just the way that you view yourself or you know what I'm trying to ask?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've become much more intentional as a parent because I've
Mm.
had to become much more intentional with my time of signifying, "This is when I am Gaddies, this is when I am daddy and this is when I am David." I worked in large corporations beforehand and it was very easy to say, great work, you get me for these hours and then I'm on PTO or then whatever. There's none of that when you start your own company. And those first couple months were really overwhelming and quite difficult. And I was not the father that I wanted to be for a while. It was a struggle when you feel like you're helping other people be better fathers, but you're like, "Hey, is this I'm doing?" So, that's where this like, I deleted Instagram off of my phone, I deleted the social media apps off of my phone, and I now leave my phone in the basement and, like, that daddy Simon time at the end of the day, if he's deciding to be nice to me, is just much more protected, and I wouldn't have known that until I've done this for a year to be able to say, "This is what I need to do to let myself do this more." It may not look like someone would write it up in a business case scenario or say, "This is optimizing your growth," but it's the reality of who I am and how I'm choosing to live.
You've been in the market for over a year now.
Mhm.
What's been one of the hardest things you've had to deal with doing this?
That I am not right about everything, and the vision that I want to have is not what people like, going back to sort of the rainbows thing, right? Of like, "Okay, girl, you could say you're not gonna do rainbows, and then you could just not be a thing," right? So, I think there's that one piece of it. The second notion is really a lot of that internal conversation of I've built this business around my identity. Who am I worth more than that? And who am I more than just the number of followers that I have or the sales? And just the nuance that comes with something like that. And I think I talk with other queer founders or anyone in an underrepresented community who started a business focused on uplifting their community. You're trying to fill a gap, right? And that's where you have the insight from your lived experience. That's where you have the knowledge of what is needed. But it then also becomes this enormously intense, overwhelming element where you feel like you have to be doing it 24/7 or it's not living up to what it could be.
And what has surprised you the most?
Trusting my own ideas is working and self-confidence can be a thing.
That's huge.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes you have to go with your gut.
Yeah, and I always was very much a in the background person because I didn't believe in my own voice or I didn't believe in what I had to say was worthwhile, and this has pushed me to needing to do that in new and different ways.
I mean, couldn't have said it better from a power top, you know?
Is that self-proclaimed, bro? I don't know. I don't you heard it here first at Out Loud and Laughing, I guess.
I'm just kidding. We'll get to those questions later. Um, but I guess before we move into like our other segment, what's next for Gaddies and what can people expect from your brand?
Yeah, I think the community aspect of figuring out how do we start showing up IRL in real life, and we've had people who sort of volunteer to be ambassadors in cities. I think to your point of what's been so hard is reminding people of right now it's a one person company, right? And you are trying to do all of these things. And I've tried to be very intentional even in putting out of like, I'm not Amazon. Your product is not going to show up in 2 days, right? I'm not Amazon. I don't have a customer service. I am the customer service. But even in that, being vulnerable with people and, if there's a shipping error, saying like, hey, this is gonna be running late and being surprised by the joy and sort of the leeway that people can provide back. And actually, as a 1-year anniversary present to myself, I bought myself, an item I'd really been looking forward to, and then this big giant company sent me the wrong one, and it made me feel so good because I was like, even giant conglomerates mess up sometimes. And so giving yourself that permission to mess up and then try to make it better and speak to it directly.
I love that. So now we're gonna segue to our game, which is new to you, and but John and I and just brought this on with all of our guests. We have a new game. We're calling it This or That, the Gaddies edition.
It's time for another round of this or that, the unhinged get to know you game.
Mm.
Basically, we ask you two different things. You pick your answer. Feel free to tell us why. We actually prefer details. It makes it more fun for John and I. I'll let John go first.
Are you hosting the play date or are you going to go to somebody else's house?
Travel only because then I can leave when I want to.
BYOP, figure that one out. All
Mhm.
right.
Are we scruff or no scruff?
I am defined by scruff. And I think I grew a beard in my early 20s and like a lot of people maybe grew it out of a lack of self-confidence and I was like, "Hey, I don't love the way my face looks, so I'm gonna grow a beard and this is gonna be a little bit of my shield." And now I love it. So it's not
I
going
have
away.
I have only known David to have facial hair, so that
Yeah.
is fact.
And
Simpler times.
strappingly handsome as well.
Thank you.
So the
My
beard is
husband and I have been
working.
together 16 years and I grew it right when we started dating. So we have a few photos of us in our little uh twink stages.
That's cute. I
That's
was
a
gonna
lie. There was no
when you
part of me that was ever a twink, but fresh-faced maybe is the right word.
when you followed up, I've been married for 16 years. I was like, I'm not coming for you, David. Not on the
Yeah,
pod. People are watching. No, it's
that's
just
what the DMs are for.
that's what the DMs are for.
Yeah.
Are you of the camp matching family outfits or individual style?
Individual style, unless you're purchasing a matching outfit for you and your family at heygaddies.com.
That I'm here for.
So, background on this
But part of
question.
that is my husband and I are completely different people, and
That is
so
true.
there's no way that like, he is preppy, button down, stays in his work clothes as long as he can, and I am not. So, there's no world that we could ever probably agree on what we were gonna wear, and our child is gonna do whatever they want anyways.
Love that. So, a little background on this question is David and I met at a year that was but we met playing softball, gay softball. So, David, are you pitching or catching in the softball game?
I'm just glad to be in the game.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I got a ticket.
Let me
Yeah,
in,
I'm just
coach.
glad I got a ticket and, they're gonna put me where they need to put me, but I will not be playing catcher. My
Yeah.
knees are
Well,
old. And I see
also,
people
yeah.
playing catcher without a face mask and I'm like,
Messy.
it's very messy. It's just I can't do it. But I'm also
Also,
not pitching. In
yeah.
actual softball, absolutely not. Like, I'm not having my, like, balls float in my face moment. I'm playing shortstop.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm a side too, David. I get it. I'm just joking. Um, chest guy or butt guy? Now we're really driving into this. Let's see what we got.
For myself or on others?
Sure.
Um, well, I think that my chest hair has become my best sales asset, so I'll go with
Mhm,
chest.
mm.
Chest guy all the way.
Mhm.
Are you, after a long day, shower or bath?
Bath and then shower.
You
So
know,
bath to let go
eh,
of the vibes and then shower to clean everything off.
'Kay. You bring, a little bit of Portland, a little bit of Cleveland. What do you prefer? Is it or is it and?
Is it in you? I think it's
Yeah.
always there,
Yeah.
right? So Cleveland will always be a part of me. I've lived in 7 states, 5 countries, and you take a little bit with you at all times. But if you ask me where home is, it's still Cleveland. Although I did have get an Oregon driver's license
Because you had to.
because I had to.
Yeah.
My
I get
therapist made a lot of money off that one. I was like, "Who am I? My identity. I'm not an Oregonian." He was like, "All right, I need you to
I agree.
pull it together."
Um, okay. Are you a morning guy or a night guy?
Mornings, in part because I take care of my child in the mornings.
Yeah. Same.
I'm like a great 3 PM to 7 PM friend. I think that's part of getting older. I'm not the let's go out till 4 in the morning friend. Like, that's just not who I am, or even like the going out till 2 in the morning. And I think living in New York City in your early 20s or just being in your 20s, right? It's all about all these things. And now I'm like, I'm hilarious between the hours of 3 and 7. That
Adam
is when
always
you
says
can best take advantage of me.
Adam always says my best hours are between 10 and 2, and I'm like, "Oh, so the times of the day I don't see you." He's like, "Yeah."
Mhm. Yeah.
That's awesome. Uh, David, from all of the traction gaining over there at Hey Gaddies, go visit our family. I mean, well, I was just gonna say our friend, but you're practically family. Go visit him on Instagram at Hey Gaddies. Go see all the amazing apparel at heygaddies.com. Where else? Where else can we find you? Are there any other secret places you're hidden online to go grab that pink
Or
shirt
back rooms.
or back
Yeah.
rooms, the eagle?
Just look for the chest hair and then you'll find a way.
Ugh. Well, David, thank you for being our chosen family once again. We love
Yeah.
you. Coming
Thanks
on.
for having us. Love you guys.
This was Out Loud and Laughing. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.